Are all loading in. So we'll give you all an opportunity to load in. Look at all the hearts. Well, you know the chat is open, so you should load in and share where you are tuning in from tonight. I'm going to see, can I try to catch it as much as possible? Oh, there it is. Alabama, Connecticut, Irvine, California, Greenville, South Carolina, Columbia, Marion, South Carolina. That's only 30 minutes from Johnsonville. Atlanta, Philadelphia, Houston. Oh my God, it's going so fast, y'all. New York City, Dallas, Fresno, Union, Columbia, South Carolina, Arlington, Central Florida, Massachusetts. Okay, y'all, it's safe to say that Black women are joining in from all across the country. I see Toledo, I see Pasadena, California, I see Selma, I see Albany, I see the South, I see Maryland, I see Washington, D.C. in the chat. And shout out, I know we got Hawaii in the house. We always have Hawaii in the house every single Sunday. It's safe to say we are Black women all across the country. The numbers keep ticking up. It's already we turned this on in 1 minute and there's already 2,000 of you on the call tonight and it is growing. Welcome to Sunday Nights with Win with Black Women. For those of you who are joining for the first time, welcome. My name is Joteka Edie, and it is always an honor to join Black women, dynamic, bold Black women on most Sunday nights. To be more specific, on every other Sunday night. It's so wonderful to be here. And shout out to the amazing team of women who power Win with Black Women, who are a part of making Win with Black Women what it is. So, always a big shout out to our Win with Black Women tech team, our sister Christina Q, Holly Weeks, Sierra Johnson, Chantel Mullen, Dr. Edwina Ward, our good sister, Holly Holiday, who keeps it all going for us, and so many other sisters that are keeping it going. Sister Jewel Love, thank you so much for all that you all do, and all of the women that pour into Win with Black Women. So if you are joining Win with Black Women for the very first time, here is a bit about who we are. First of all, we open in the spirit and we close in the spirit on all of our calls. Win with Black women, these calls are off the record. I know they're very public. I know a lot of you are part of the press, but these calls are off the record. If you want more information, or if you want to speak on the record with any of the women, you can reach out to us through our partners at Actum LLC and/or at info@winwithblackwomen.org, and we can gladly point you in the right direction. So, Win with Black Women, who are we? We are a network of Black women leaders who join in our individual capacities to do three things. Number one, make sure that we are speaking out against racism and sexism. Number two, to work in our individual capacities to help elect Black women up and down the ballot box. And number three, working in our collective capacity to lift up both the positive image and power of Black women across this country, and especially Black women-led and Black women-centered organizations. That is what we have been doing since 2020. And I know many of you may remember that powerful night when we all came together and we all had 44,000 on a Zoom and another 50,000 that was watching that Zoom. And let me see if you're in the chat, if you were part of the 44,000. Since then, and ever since 2020, we've been focused on that goal, and we have accomplished a lot of great things together in partnership with Black women-led organizations and following the leadership of Black women institutional organizations and leaders who have been really planting the roots in the trees that we are all bearing fruit of. We know this is a moment of challenge in this country, but the one thing that our good sister Latasha Brown, who will be joining us tonight, have often reminded us is that we as Black women can hold both the fight and the joy at the same time. And that is our purpose tonight, to inform you, to give you critical information, but also to celebrate our joy and our wins. Because even in these chaotic times, as Black women, we are still winning. We got 2 Black women in the United States Senate. We have the largest number of Black women in the Congress than we've ever had. We've got Black women that are leading in sports, Black women in culture and entertainment, and Silicon Valley and business and everywhere in between. So do not let all of the noise drown out our joy. And with that, sisters, we are going to get started with this agenda. I do want to remind you that when we close this agenda tonight, we will go into what we call after hours. And you can have three options. Number one, you can stay in the main room where you can watch a conversation with some of our guests and panelists, or you could go into one or several breakout rooms where you could engage with each other. And with that, I am so excited to bring to the Win with Black Women stage to open us in the spirit, our good sister, Nkechi Free.
Hi, Joteka. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you all tonight. It's a pleasure to be here with all these beautiful Black women. As Joteka said, we open in the spirit, we close in the spirit. We have been leading these calls for almost, 5 years now, but we always give thanks. So I ask that you bow your head. Heavenly Father, we thank you. In the midst of all the chaos, you are the calm. Lord, we thank you. You give us guidance. You give us hope. You give us direction. We know that when we continue to center you and put you first, we know that all things will be done for your glory. Heavenly Father, thank you for these beautiful, amazing women that have come here tonight to work and to have joy, to rest and to get the job done. And we do them knowing that you make all things possible. That when we center you and when we center your divine will, we know that a good and mighty thing will happen. When we came together in 2020, we did not know that, Lord, we would be here in this moment, but we knew that a change was going to come. And we knew that we had a divine purpose. And we knew that by working together, that we could continue to uplift, celebrate, and be in sisterhood with other Black women around this country, around this world. And Father, we continue in that vein and in that mission and in that purpose. And we know that we are doing a good thing. And despite what the world says, and despite what's all around us, and despite the negativity and the forces that come at us, we are Black women. And there is nothing that we cannot do when we do it together in fellowship, in sisterhood, and when we hold on to your unchanging hands. And that, Father, is what we are going to open with today, is holding on to your unchanging hands as we get the work done and we continue to move forward. This prayer we ask in your mighty, majestic, and holy name. Amen.
Amen to that. There is nothing that we cannot do. Sisters, I know it has been quite a week, and there has been a number of, I don't even know how to put the words in it, but just a number of just aggressive, regressive executive orders that have a deep impact on all of our communities, but particularly on Black communities across the country, whether or not it is the preservation of our history or our ability to collectively bargain and organize in the workplace, or our ability to have access to counsel and or to just be in this country. And we have a dynamic panel coming up of dynamic, bold Black women who have not only been tracking this conversation, but also very much providing information on what you can do. Before we bring up this dynamic panel, I want to roll this clip to put this into context.
President Donald Trump has issued an order accusing the Smithsonian Institution of framing American history in a, quote, improper and negative light. The order puts Vice President J.D. Vance in charge of overseeing efforts to, quote, remove improper ideology from all areas of the institution. Trump singled out the National Museum of African American History and Culture, the Women's History Museum, and the American Art Museum. Civil rights advocates, historians, and black political leaders have sharply rebuked Trump's order.
Thank you for that. And that is just one of the many executive orders that we have seen. And up to talk about all of the executive orders that have come to bear, we have a dynamic group of some of the best in just the country who could speak on these issues. So please welcome to the Win with Black Women stage, and a shout out to our sister Donna Brazil, who was instrumental in helping to bring these dynamic women before us, who is flying and traveling and hopefully will be able to join us very soon. But please, let's welcome our dynamic legal scholar, activist. She's been before the Supreme Court. She is America's shero, Sherilyn Ifill. Our good sister who leads the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, which the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation does work 365 days a year and not just 1 week in September. Our good sister Nicole Austin Hillary, the president of the Service SEIU Union, our good sister, a historic president of SEIU Service Employees International Union, April Ferret, and our sister Brittany Packnett Cunningham, who is a noted she is a noted, oh God, there's so many things I could say about her. She is an educator, she is a thought leader, she is a communicator, she is an activist, she is a host. Brittany Packnett Cunningham. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so I don't need to say much. I am going to start with you, Sherilyn. There has been a number of executive orders, and this conversation that we are embarking on is really for all of the sisters, the nearly 3,000 sisters that are watching from across the country, who are watching this. And we see the sound clips, we see it on television. Can you walk us through, and our goal in this conversation is for all of these sisters that are watching to be able to understand what is happening, how it impacts our community, and what they should know, and also what they could do. I'm going to start with you, Shirley, because I think you could put this into context. You've seen this, you understand both the legal parameters of this, and you also are doing a lot to make sure that people understand what's happening. And thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Joteka, and thank you everyone for joining tonight. This is so important. We have seen this onslaught of executive orders, and it's really important to talk about the purpose of churning out these executive orders, or we call them EOs, these EOs at this pace with this very disturbing agenda. The first thing to remember is that an executive order is not a law. An executive order is a directive that the president gives towards the federal government. That could be the agencies of federal government. Now, there's a lot of power in an executive order, but it's not a law. Remember when President Biden issued an executive order attempting to do a kind of mass student loan forgiveness. It was challenged, it went to the courts, and the Supreme Court said he couldn't do it. He had to come up with other ways, additional executive orders, to comply with what the Supreme Court said he had to do. So the executive order itself is not a law, it's a policy statement by the president directed at the agencies of federal government. The reason I raise that, Joteka, is because what we are seeing, and perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the last few weeks, is seeing how many are willing to treat executive orders as though they are law and capitulate to the attention and the bullying that these EOs constitute. Now, for example, we're all familiar with the EO on DEI. It purports to shift the concept of diversity, equity, inclusion and inclusion into something that was a directive that really was used by corporations to try and expand the pool of people that they sought in interviews, the pool of people and companies that they worked with, that they engaged with. All of this was to ensure that we brought traditionally excluded voices into the space. When the Supreme Court struck down race-conscious admissions at Harvard and UNC, the Supreme Court did not say that DEI is unconstitutional. That was not an issue in that case. The issue in that case was race-conscious admissions. And yet, all over the country, we have seen organizations, companies, schools, etc., behave as though the concept of DEI was part of that Supreme Court decision. And so Trump is riding on that, along with his pals, Chris Rufo, who has kind of started the charge against DEI, and some of his cabinet secretaries. Trump is using this as a way of talking to his base. And so he talks about DEI and calls it in the executive order immoral, diversity, equity, and inclusion as immoral. And what is most disturbing about it, as I said, is how many are acquiescing to the idea that they must change their conduct and behavior based on the president's statement towards federal agencies. We saw that this week with the new EOs targeted at law firms. Now, this is really, really disturbing. The President of the United States has chosen to target particular law firms and lawyers who he deems to be opposed to him, and has issued an executive order to essentially bar them and their law firms from being able to have government contracts, to be able to enter government buildings. This has been an existential threat to major law firms whose clients do business with the federal government, as most wealthy clients do. And so the first firm that he targeted, Perkins Coie, sued and immediately received a temporary restraining order stopping the president from imposing this executive order while the case moves through review at the trial and then appellate level. But no sooner had that happened than another firm that was targeted by the administration, Paul Weiss, decided to strike what it called a settlement with the administration and made agreements to do certain things in their law firm, including spend $40 million of pro bono services towards issues that are of importance to this administration. So they cut a deal even as this had been pending. The most recent one to cut a deal is Skadden Arps, one of the major law firms in this country and in the world. This one is significant because Skadden Arps, since the 1980s, has had a fellowship that has been considered at the very top of the line. And in this fellowship, new lawyers recently graduated from law school are placed at public interest law organizations. We regularly had them at LDF, at the ACLU, at other civil rights and civil liberties law organizations for 2 years. And then you have the opportunity to hire those young people who you've had a chance to train while Skadden Arps paid for them. Well, now Skadden Arps has agreed that they will have fellows at presumably conservative organizations that are aligned with this administration. And so they have taken something, a marquee opportunity that has been branded with the history of civil rights and civil liberties and turned it over to conservatives. There's another law firm that is fighting, Wilmer Hale, and that's important. But the reason I raise this is because when this administration comes against individuals, as they are likely to, because there is, of course, another EO in which the president orders the attorney general to investigate any lawyer or law firm that has sued the president. I've sued the president. I sued the president under the KKK Act after the 2020 election. And so anyone who has sued the administration over the last 8 years is to be investigated. Many of us would have presumed that we would have been represented by these very law firms, but we see that these law firms are bending the knee. And so it is essentially leaving people exposed to the desires of this administration. I want to last just touch on the EO that relates to museums and the Smithsonian, in which the president, by name, refers to the Black Smithsonian. He doesn't refer to it as the Black Smithsonian, but you know what I mean. And he purports to attack some of its exhibits. He does it with other museums as well. I just want to say again to be careful. Uh, the Smithsonian, and certainly the Black Smithsonian, is not the Kennedy Center. It is not a government organization. It is on government land on the mall. It does receive some federal funding, but many of us know that that museum was largely built, 50% built, with the extraordinary multi-million dollar contributions of Black extremely wealthy individuals who wanted to see that museum happen. Now, it is true that Vice President Vance is ex officio on the Board of Regents of that museum. The chair of that Board of Regents, ex officio, is Chief Justice John Roberts. But there is a governance structure that is different from the Kennedy Center. In other words, Trump cannot just walk in and take over the board of the Black Smithsonian. So it would take some time and some machinations, and it's important for us to put that word out. But I put another word out. I just want to say this, Joteka, and this is not even with my legal hat on. And I said it today. We have to decide that they are not taking the Black Smithsonian. At some point, you have to draw a line in the sand. And this is going to come up when we get to our HBCUs because they haven't gotten there yet, but they will. We have to make a decision that they are not going to take it. And that means that those who are organizers and activists have to believe that. Those of us who are lawyers and who engage in civil rights practice have to believe that. Those of us who engage in direct action have to believe that. We have to make a decision about what we will not allow to happen, even as we try to navigate what has happened. And I think that finding those things that are a line in the sand and with which Black people all over the country will resonate, like our HBCUs and like the Black Smithsonian, it's important for us to begin identifying those things now. But I want people to know that it will take some time if what they want to do is try and in some way take over the Black Smithsonian because of the government structure. It will not be like the Kennedy Center. And I do think they intend to do that. The last thing is on monuments. You know that beginning in 2017, after the Charlottesville racist march, we have been engaged in a close look and encounter, particularly with Confederate monuments that have dotted the landscape of this country since the early 1900s. Many of those monuments have been taken down. This EO asks and purports that those monuments would be restored and that additional new monuments would be built. It's very important to remember that some of those monuments that were taken down, there was a push by some to melt them down, and many of them have been melted down. And it just, for me, it's an important reminder that when you defeat something, you defeat an enemy, you have to completely remove it and completely destroy it, and not leave it in some warehouse to be replaced back on the same pylon. And so there is going to be this effort to reinstantiate the narrative of the lost cause of the Civil War, to re-up this idea of this noble cause. We see already that the name of Denali Mountain has been stripped and is now called Mount McKinley. There is this effort to whitewash again American history. They will be looking at markers and plaques pursuant to this EO to make sure that they only talk about the greatness of the United States. And the last thing I'll say is that in the earlier EO on education, and the names of these EOs are very important, restoring sanity, dealing with radicalized education and so forth. One of the things that this administration is focused on is next year, the celebrations of the 250th anniversary of this country. We should expect to see a full-on effort to inculcate a vision of American history that excludes Black people, that excludes Native American people, that doesn't tell the truth, that not only whitewashes but glorifies those events and those activities that were genocidal, that were homicidal, that were inhumane. And we should begin thinking about how we want to handle that with our own community. We have the ability to tell our own story. And so some of us are working with historians and others to think about how we want to concurrently manage that 250th anniversary. So again, that's my takeaway is the EOs are important. They can, closing the Department of Education, they don't have the power to do that, but they can gut programs. They can do so much with these EOs. There's no question about it. But it's important to know that they're not law, that many of them, all of them, are being challenged in the legal system, and that it is critical that our institutions not comply in advance. What we are seeing with universities, what we are seeing with law firms breaks my heart to see these core institutions, civic institutions of democracy, choose to bend the knee in advance in order to obtain federal dollars. I will just say the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was Title VI of that act was created to ensure that public schools would comply with Brown versus Board of Education. It essentially said that no program that engages in discrimination can receive federal money. And they are using that now as a way of threatening various institutions. But what kills me is that we still live in a country where the school system is as segregated as it's ever been. We still have school districts under consent decree who are not yet unitary. That's how unafraid those schools and those recalcitrant white school districts were, how unafraid they were of the threat of losing federal money. But on this side, we watch law firms and we watch universities, some of the most well-resourced institutions in our country, immediately bend the knee and obey in advance before they are compelled to do so by courts. That is really what has made these EOs even more powerful than the words on the paper.
Sherilyn, thank you for that. And I just have to give a big shout out to your newsletter. And if
Thank you.
folks are not subscribing to Sherilyn Eifel's newsletter, it is a constant source. Some folks in the chat say legal information. It's just a constant source of information. And you said something that was so critical, and I think it was repeated in the chat multiple times. Bend the knee and capitulation. Bend the knee and capitulation. The most dangerous aspect of these EOs is that when folks will bow down and they will change when it is still a question, or the legality of the EOs are still being reviewed. And so I think what you said is very, very important. While we hear these EOs, an EO is not necessarily always final.
Try,
Thank you
try,
for
try
that.
to imagine, Joteka, if all of the banks and loan organizations had immediately complied with Biden's EO forgiving student loans, forgiving all student loans. I mean, that would have been fantastic, right? But did they? They did not. They took it all the way to the Supreme Court and they won. And they won. And so I just think it's really telling to see the lack of mettle and to see those who have purported to be allies on this whole set of issues be so willing to lie prostrate before this administration.
That's so, so, so true. Brittany, I want to pull you in, but before I pull you in, I want to show just a snippet, think maybe about 30 seconds of a clip. If you all don't follow Brittany Packnett Cunningham on socials, make sure you're following her because she's constantly giving us good information. But you got on social media, I think the last I checked, your post had been shared probably about 10,000 times. So that's just in one place. But roll this clip, team, to put this in context, and then I want to ask you a question.
Because we know why he's coming for us. We know what our history teaches people. And we also know it is dangerous to be a people with no memory.
Now, it is dangerous to be a people with no memory. Sherilyn alluded to this, EO. There has been this executive order that is challenging our museums, our history. Could you talk a little bit more and expound on that clip of what you were saying in this clip about the importance of our history and what we should know about these EOs and the motives behind these EOs and how we can respond to such an EO? You said something very profound about our people and our history. Over to you, Brittany, and thank you.
Thank you, Joteka. It's always an honor to be in the sister chat, if you will, especially to follow up my leader, our leader, the brilliant Sherilyn Ifill. I feel like God put that word on my heart to make that video the other day because I always want us to remember that we are bigger than any moment. Right? That Black folks, especially African American people, right? Whether you find yourself being a descendant of enslaved people, whether you came here and are the child of immigrants, but Black people in America have found a particular way to define ourselves for ourselves that gives us power, that gives us clarity, and that gives us the ability to sustain in difficult times. So if we were just for the moment, we would have folded by now. Hello. But we haven't, right? We've been able to sustain ourselves, to survive, and to thrive in ways that people never were able to expect. And so I feel like I got that word as I looked at the particular executive order attacking the museums, the Smithsonian, and calling out our beloved, as we call it here in DC, Blacksonian. Just as a point of information, there's about a $1.25 billion budget for all of the Smithsonian institutions. So what that includes is the several museums we see on the National Mall, also museums around the District of Columbia and in Maryland and Virginia, but also New York and worldwide. That also includes the research centers. So the things that we see in the museum are actually the final stage of something. There's a lot of research and archiving that goes into what we actually see in the narrative that is built in these museums to be able to educate the masses. About 60% of that 1.25 billion is federally funded, as I've researched. About 50 million of that budget is for the Blacksonian, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And of that 50 million, it's about 50-50 federal and private right now. And so obviously budgets change over the years. The former director of the Blacksonian, Lonnie Bunch, is of course now the secretary of the Smithsonian. So he oversees the entire institution. And it's important that we continue to support him personally as he sees the way through for the Smithsonian. But our Black Museum in particular provides educational materials, critical archives. There are Black family archives. You can go in there and research your own people. When the Ebony archives went up for sale, those beautiful images that were going up for sale, and we were worried about whose hands those images would end up in, the Blacksonian got together with 3 other organizations and actually ensured that they could purchase those archives and direct those archives to be accessible digitally, right? So these are critical actions. And when we think about the attack on the museums and on history, and we align that up with the desire to close the Department of Education, it's very clear that folks want to keep us stupid, right? I want to be honest in that it's not just about this attack on Black folks because anti-Blackness is global. There are a couple of reasons why this particular attack is so telling. One is that the history of African American people has deep influence for how people understand and engage in revolution, right? There is not a movement around the world that has not learned from Black movements in America and across the diaspora. We are too influential, and there are people who are afraid of that. Number two, we understand that our culture is our glue as a people, right? So we came to these shores, my ancestors, many of your ancestors came to these shores as many people, many languages, many cultures, many tribes got here and had to figure out how to survive together. That meant we had to become one language, one tribe, one people. We created a new thing called African American. It did not exist before somebody brought our ancestors here, and they meant to use our people only for exploitation and depletion and destruction. And yet we are still here, and our culture is the most influential in the world, as is our history. So these are things that are dangerous to folks who don't want to see us be free. Memory is freedom work, and we always have to remember that. The other thing we have to remember is that Black power is unparalleled. As I talked about in the video, we have been powerful as a people because we kept our memory before there was an institution telling us how to do so. Our people couldn't go to school to be archivists and museum scientists and library scientists. No, our people had to teach one another how to read and write in secret in the basement of churches, right? Septima Clark built the Highlander Center, and there are generations of people across the South who owe their families literacy to the fact that she said, I'm going to put some wood and some bricks and some steel together and create an edifice for us to educate each other, because the formal schools won't let us in, or the state legislatures are calling it illegal for us to read and write, right? We figured out how to braid memory into people's hair, I go on to say. We figured out how to put memory into songs in coded language to help somebody escape, and then pass those memories along through the Fisk Jubilee Singers and the Morehouse Glee Club, right? There are so many creative ways in which everyday people, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our aunties, our uncles, our mamas, our daddies, our sisters, our brothers, were the archivists. We are all archivists. Everything in that museum exists because somebody thought well enough to keep it. Before there was ever even talk of a museum, before anybody could ever imagine that somebody would be wise enough to put all of our things in one place. So that means that while the institution and the building is critical, the history contained in it is even more important. And we are bigger than the building. Our history, our culture, our power is bigger than that building. I'm thinking right now of my sister Latasha Brown, and if I can channel her for a minute, I'm thinking of Aretha Franklin when she says, how I got over, how I got over. My soul looks back and wonders how I got over. There are ways that we got over that we have to remember and pass on always. So some of those things and the history and the culture and the skills that are contained in that building are things that helped us survive as a people. So we have to be engaged in that old-fashioned each one teach one to make sure somebody knows how to deliver the babies, that somebody knows how to grow the food, that somebody knows how to cook the food, that somebody knows how to teach the babies, to quote our friend David Johns, just that somebody knows how to create the institutions, that somebody knows how to preach to the people, that somebody knows how to handle the finances, right? These are all things that we kept and we passed on before we ever had an archivist teach us how to do it. We are bigger than these monuments, and our memories existed before the monuments existed. And so in the most desperate of times, Black people have created gold. So I'll end Joteka with this. We have to think critically about what's next. And what's next has to be about us future-proofing our memory, our history, and our people. We have to be future-proof, that no matter what they try to throw at us, this administration, the next administration, or whoever comes along trying to take us out, that we have contained ourselves enough, that we have protected ourselves enough, that we have supported one another enough, that no matter what they throw at us, we're ready to do what our ancestors and our elders did and stand 10 toes down, and be completely irreplaceable, and ensure that we cannot be pushed and we cannot be moved. So what can we do? We can donate to the Blacksonian nationally, but I also want you to look locally. There are a number of local and statewide Black History museums that need our funding, that need our support, that need us to become patrons, that need us to become donors, that need us to become members. So make sure that we are looking at that carefully, nationally and locally. We need to be thinking about, again, how we are all archivists. How are you keeping your family tree? How are you keeping your family's recipes? How are you putting your family's images or your community's images in that fireproof box? Those things are critical, and I don't mean that figuratively. I mean it literally. We are griots. We are pastors of the story. I told some of the story on Instagram yesterday, but all of us have the power and the platform, whether we've got 20,000 followers or 2 followers, and they're the young people who live in your home. There are stories that need to be told and passed down, and we have to be responsible to do that. Ultimately, we have to remember, this is not our crash out era. And I want to repeat that. This is not our crash out era. There are folks who would very much love for us to recklessly pour into the streets and engage in other behaviors and activities that make it even easier for them to come and disappear us. Okay, this is our strategic era. This is us getting on calls, but also getting in basements, in kitchens, in beauty shops, in barbershops, and talking the thing through and making sure that the railroad is once again underground. Okay.
Hmm.
This is about us being wise and making sure, again, that we are future proofing our people, our history, and our culture. That if they try to erase it from the rest of the world, that it is still etched in stone in our hearts and our minds, and that we are always capable to pass it to the next generation. That is our work. No matter what executive order comes out next, that will always be our work. And we are always more than capable of it because our ancestors and our elders, they gave us the blueprint.
Now,
Thank you.
Brittany has come and given us y'all a Sunday night. She didn't give us a teach, a preach, and a song. But I wanna lift up. There's so many. Oh my gosh, there's so many nuggets of what you said. But you said this is not our crash out era. That is so important. This is not our crash out era. This is time for us to be strategic. And some things we are going to say loud and proud, but also that Underground Railroad also was an Underground Railroad for a reason. And that is important, equally as important. Thank you for that, Brittany.
Thank you.
Sister April, I want to go to you. Many of us grew up in union households. Many of us, the only way that we were able to have that living wage was because there was a union that was fighting for us, our families, our grandparents. There has been aggressive attacks, ongoing attacks since I can even remember on the ability to collectively bargain and for those to have the unions in our communities and the workplace, and we're seeing it now. I want to go over to you to just really break down some of the attacks that we're seeing against our unions. And thank you for being here too, and congratulations too on your historic appointment as the first Black woman to head the SCIU International Union. It was an honor and a privilege to see that news, and it is always an honor to have you with us here at Win with Black Women.
Thanks so much. It's great to be with you all tonight. And you are absolutely right, Joteka. It has been a calculated, strategic 40-year attack on unionism in this country. And it's worked, right? We have gone from an era in the middle of the 20th century where there was a quarter of the United States workforce that was represented in unions. Today, our density in unions is at 6%. So that's just a symbol of just how far they have gone to defeat our movement. And I want to be really clear, there is no healthy democracy on this globe where there is not a vibrant, thriving labor movement. And the resources, the people power, the place where no matter where you come from or what you look like, where workers can get together and strive toward a common goal, one of the last places that exists in this country is our unions. And so this 40-year attack is very much an attack, not just on working people. It's not just the furthering of economic exploitation that started with the enslavement of Africans, but this is really about power, right? And that if you take away the power of working people, if you prevent working people to be able to come together to fight for themselves for better, you have what we have today, right? Which is a bunch of billionaire oligarchs in their crash out era, Sister Brittany. But to the executive order that we specifically saw this week, since January 20th, we have seen the White House put out EO after EO, directive after directive, attacking federal workers. The firings, the crazy emails, the suspensions, the layoffs, 10,000 people at Health and Human Services laid off just this week. And just to give this some context, I heard this this week. There are over 10,000 people that work for Johns Hopkins Hospital alone. Mm. So how do you expect the CDC to keep all of us healthy if you just laid off thousands of their employees? So this is an example of how far they will go to be able to take away resources from vital public program to then be able to go back and sell us something that we need to keep ourselves healthy, right? Because I do believe that is part of the end game. Take away what happens in the public sector to be able to replace it so that they can monetize it in the private sector. But this week we saw an executive order that with the swipe of a pen took away union rights and collective bargaining from over 1 million federal employees. That was after we saw tens and hundreds of thousands of them be played with, over the last 60 or so days. We believe that this order, like many of the other executive orders, is unlawful. They also didn't just do an EO. They also went to court to fire the union, AFG, excuse me, to sue AFG, which is the largest of our federal sector unions. They took them to court in the Waco District Court, which we know is a very friendly court for the administration, so that they can try to get ahead of whatever stays or injunctions that the unions might be able to bring forward. In my union in SEIU, we represent about 80,000 federal workers. And it's important for folks to know that most of these people work in our VAs, right? They are nurses and doctors and other hospital workers. We represent folks who work in the forestry department, who keeps our public parks and safe. And we should also note that Black workers disproportionately are impacted by this executive order. Over 18% of the federal workforce identifies as Black. That's versus 12% in the general population. So this is going at us. And we must remember that when we couldn't get hired in the private sector, it was cities and counties and states and the federal government that hired us. And with unions in the public sector, we were able to have family sustaining jobs that built the Black middle class, right? The public sector jobs in our VAs, as bus drivers, right? As school teachers, as people who worked in government. That's how the Black middle class was built. And so seeing the dismantling of our Black unions is all about, going after our communities. This is also about our veterans. 30% of the federal workforce is comprised of veterans. And I just think that is so telling, going after workers, going after veterans by an administration that purports and claims that that's who they're supposed to be fighting for, right? They did all that blah, blah, blah about working people and lowering prices. And the last time I checked, the eggs are still too damn high and nobody has gotten, raises, right? They still refuse to pass things like the PRO Act. They still refuse to increase the paltry $7.25 federal minimum wage. And so we just have to remember that though we may not personally be impacted, the impact that this will have on our federal workforce will affect every single person in America. Like your grandma or your auntie that can't get nobody on the phone when she can't get her Social Security check, right? Or the fact that they are, no longer supporting vaccinations and you got a measles outbreak. When you don't have a Center for Disease Control in the middle of a measles outbreak that you're not trying to vaccinate against, will wreak havoc on all of our communities. And so we're just asking folks all over the country to pay attention, to stand with, your neighbors in the post office, right, and the federal government, because these attacks are real and they're going to have detrimental impact on our community. Of course, we're filing all of the lawsuits, but I think we're also going to see more and more smart, strategic mobilization, taking to the street to be able to raise our voice, to know that we will not be moved.
We will not be moved. Sister April, you raised something very, very important, because these executive orders and these attacks, they're very calculated. And also, they didn't just start in January. Please, everyone needs to understand we are in the implementation phase of a multi-year playbook. A multi-year playbook that had started many, many years ago. And I believe that we saw an influx of it even as far back as 2010, when we started seeing the aggressive rollback of voting rights. So they were laying the foundation to thwart our ability to get to the ballot box so that they could try to control elections, to have lawsuits that would go to the Supreme Court that would allow the flood of private money into elections so that they could position themselves so that they could implement this strategy. And this strategy, as we have heard laid out, is an attack on our workers. It is an attack on the federal government. And in this attack, what ends up happening, Sister April said, what you said is that someone's going to be calling. Our grandmothers, our mothers, our aunties are going to be trying to call to talk about their Social Security check. They can't get anyone, and it's only going to make them believe that the government is inefficient. So that is a part of the strategy. You got to understand what they're doing here. And we got to make sure that we are very clear with the strategy. And they're making sure that they are also attacking our ability to defend ourselves with lawyers and law firms that have traditionally defended all of those that are being attacked, and they're erasing our history so that our people are not strong and reminded of our power and our history. And that we have seen this before. So all of this is very targeted. It is very strategic. And as you outlined, it is important for us to be very clear and understand what's happening. I think the most important thing is that these executive orders are not all legal.
Right.
And it is important for us not to give up. I want to go to you, Sister Nicole Austin Hillary. Thank you for all of the incredible work that you do at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. There are, between our YouTube and here, there are about 4,000 Black women right now on this call listening in. Could you please tell us about this amazing tool that the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation has recently shared for all of us to follow these executive orders? And thank you for all the work that you do. And I think we may have some graphics to show while you're speaking to illustrate some of the work that you're doing here.
Well, thank you, Sister Joteka, and thank you to my fellow panelists and to all of the amazing women who are with us this evening. You know, I'm always inspired when I hear all of my sisters talk. And we know that our strategy for dealing with challenges, for dealing with aggression, has to be multiple strategy. We have to ensure that we understand the history, as Brittany has talked about. We have to make sure that we understand the landscape, as Sherilyn has talked about, and we have to understand how it is impacting various communities, as Sister April has talked about. But we also have to make sure that we have the tools in place to respond and to arm ourselves. If we don't have tools to arm ourselves, we are in desperate trouble. The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, through our Center for Policy Analysis and Research, has introduced something called the Executive Order Tracker. Now, we all know that there have been many institutions since January that have been following these executive orders and tracking them and listing what they do and what their titles are. But our executive order tracker is specifically focused on understanding what is at stake for Black America, because we need to know how these executive orders are impacting our communities. And then we need to then take that information and use it to strategize about then what our responses will be and figure out how we are going to protect our communities. So our tracker has looked at all of the executive orders, and it provides fact sheets for you so that you can specifically, through each item, understand what is impacting Black America. You can have the data analysis, you can look at numbers, and you can use that to then go back to your communities, go back to your organizations to help it inform how you are then going to respond. But not only are we analyzing what the particular executive order does and what it means for Black America, we are also providing you with information in terms of what our leaders at the Congressional Black Caucus level are saying and doing. I have so many people who have said, Nicole, you know, how do we link this to ensure that we understand what our leaders are doing? Well, we have done that for you so that you have a panoply of information that allows you to figure out what do we need to do in terms of our next steps. Now, here's something that's really key that's happened recently that you also need to understand. The Trump administration has reclassified what they're calling over 100 of these executive orders. They are now calling them presidential actions. You need to understand that when something is called a presidential action, it is different than an executive order. A presidential action does not have to be listed in the Federal Register. It is much harder for people to find and track and see a presidential action than when it comes out and is issued as an executive order. That means the ball is being hidden, and it's then harder for us to see what's being introduced and what the plans of attacks are. But our executive order tracker is doing this for you. We're going to let you know when those changes take place. We're going to let you know when there are new things put in place to then hide the ball from us. Again, we want to arm you with information and arm you with tools. And I also want you to understand this. Whenever one of these new executive orders or presidential actions, if you will, comes out, you need to understand in real time what is happening in our communities. And I'll give you one salient example. The executive order that is dealing with dismantling the Department of Education. We all know that not only does the Department of Education deal with our student loans, it deals with Pell Grants. It deals with all of the kind of funding that helps us to pay for colleges. That means that a disproportionate number of Black Americans are not going to have the opportunities to go to college. And we are seeing it even within our organization here at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. You know, one of the parts of our institution is that we have something called the Leadership Institute. The Leadership Institute was part of the founding of the CBCF so that we could ensure that Black leaders, future Black leaders, would have access to internships, fellowships, and scholarships. In the last 2 years, we have seen our numbers rise to over 12,000 applications per year just for the scholarships alone. And we give out many scholarships. We give out over 800 scholarships, but we're going to see those numbers, I'm sure, exponentially grow. So too will other organizations that are providing this kind of funding. So we have to be able to, Joteka, if you will, connect the dots between what is being introduced in these executive orders, what the impact is on our communities, and then what we have to do to then respond. So we have to understand this so that we know what we need to do. And understand this also. One of the reasons that Joteka pulls this call together is because none of us can do this alone. I want to ensure that the executive order tracker that the CBCF has put out is used by all of your organizations, your sororities, your fraternities, your civic organizations. We have to be working collectively and collaboratively. That is the only way we are going to confront these challenges. And I also want to say, Joteka, that when we understand history, it allows us to then put a clearer eye on how we move forward. And I will argue this. You talked about the fact that this has been ongoing for years. I'm going to go all the way back to the Nixon years and the Southern strategy, okay? This has been going on for decades. Some of us weren't even born when the makings of this plan were put in place. So not only do we have to understand our own history, we have to understand the history of those who would see us disappear as a people and as a culture. It is taking those things together and looking at them collectively that's going to help to order our steps and order our strategies. I want to say this lastly, Joteka. As I said, we are going to, in real time, provide information to everyone. We are going to have a new fact sheet coming out on the executive order that is dealing with voting. That's coming out next week. Again, we are being attacked in every sector and with respect to every system that impacts our community. And we all know that the work to make it harder for us to vote, that the work to make it harder for us to engage in our democracy has been underway for a long time. And this is just another layer in the playbook to ensure that we eventually go back to prior to the Voting Rights Act, when we could not vote, when it was so hard for us to vote, when we were counting jelly beans in jars, when we were having to interpret parts of the Constitution. We are going back to that kind of draconian system. So we need to understand that, and we want to make sure that you all have the facts and the tools in real time so that you can utilize this. And I'm lastly going to urge people to do this, Joteka, and thank you for saying this at the beginning during the introduction. Most of us know that the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation every year holds an annual legislative conference. Now, I want to be very clear in saying this. The annual legislative conference is the nation's largest Black public policy conference. And I know we get together and we do lots of things during that conference because it's also about our culture. And part of our culture we know that sustains us and heals us is that we get together, we laugh, we dance, we sing as Sister Brittany did, and we have joy. But I want to be very clear that this conference is about the business of Black America. We have over 100 brain trusts and sessions. We have a town hall so that we can set the stage for what the issues are that our community needs to focus on, those issues that are the priority issues. And I will say that more than ever before, this year's annual legislative conference is more important than ever before because we have to come together as a people. We have to come together and strategize. This is your opportunity to be shoulder to shoulder with the members of the Congressional Black Caucus. They are in the hallways with you. They are in those sessions with you. You can stop them. You can give them information. You can talk to them about what's happening in your communities. They want to hear from you. They want to know how they can help make your community stronger and better. So I urge you, come together with us September 24th through the 28th. It is not about a party. It's about the people, and it's about the survival of our people. That's how we have to collaborate collectively and work together as we move forward this year, Jotay.
That's a whole entire word. It is not a party. It's not a party. It is about our people. It is about the business of our people. September 24th through September 28th, let's be about the business of the people. For those of you who are looking for the CBCF tracker, I'm going to ask you all, there are over 4,000 of you, 4,000 Black women on this call right now. I want you to grab out of the chat or out of the resource because we have it in the resource. And this is my ask. This is a real-time ask. We have to learn how to make sure, we don't have to learn because we already know how to do this, but we have to just make sure we're doubling down on taking action. So I want everyone right now to take that link and I want you to share it with your text chat. I want you to share it with your group chat, your signal chat. I know a number of you are on a lot of signals right now. So whatever it is, your text chat, your signal thread, send it to somebody, DM somebody in there on their IG. I know y'all slide into people DMs all the time, but we got to start putting things in people's DMs and sliding in the DMs like the Underground Railroad and making sure our people are aware. Let's make sure we are sharing that tracker tonight so that our people can be informed. Sisters, thank you so much. I mean, this is an all-star panel of some of the baddest. And I want to give a big shout out to Donna Brazil, our sister who was a visionary in pulling this dynamic panel. She hopefully will be joining us. She is traveling, and as soon as she is wheels down, I'm sure we will hear her dynamic voice. But thank you to the dynamic Sherilyn Eiffel, the dynamic Nicole Austin Hillary, the dynamic April Verrett, and the dynamic Brittany Patnett Cunningham. Sisters, we are off to what we know is a fight. And we are so happy to have these sisters that are on the forefronts of this, along with so many of our sisters that are joining us. Thank you all so much. Sisters, I know if you are like me, if you are on socials, I'm always trying to figure out what's on the board. And she was my cousin in my head for a very long time. And I am so excited to have this sister join Win with Black Women. I know you've seen her on socials and, people stay telling her something. And for that, she always thanks us. But please let us welcome a noted sister leader. She has been an elected official. She is an advocate. She is a communicator. She is an influencer. But she is also about the people. Rayshonda, cousin, tell us
cousin.
What is on the board.
Well, oh my God, the panel was absolutely amazing. We have to give it up for them. We have to give it up for them. They have touched on everything that I was going to talk about that's on the board. You didn't give me a time limit, so I'm going to make this quick to sum up what everyone says because it's exactly what I was thinking about today. We have been attacked on all fronts. Okay, I'm talking about the Department of Education, HBCUs, scholarships, funding, LGBTQIA, women's bodily autonomy. Everything is under attack all at once. right? And it is to exhaust us, right? These EOs, first of all, many of them, as the women stated, are absolutely illegal, just ridiculous. Somebody needs to take his pen away immediately. Okay. The things that it was so amazing that just last weekend while in DC, I went for the first time to the African American Museum, History and Culture Museum. And let me tell you something, emotional from the time that I walked in there. So our history is ingrained in this country. They will not get rid of us. As Britt said, we are the storytellers. We will continue to pass on the history of our country. I went to CBC Week last year. I am going this year. This is our time to strategize, everyone. We really need to get together. We really need to pour into local Black businesses, Black electives that are running for office. We definitely need to get the seats that are available, like in Florida and other places. Shout out to Louisiana for voting no on all the foolishness that was down there on Saturday. So shout out to them. Listen to me. This is the time to strategize. We are definitely going underground. Everything cannot be said online. Even though I am a digital mobilizer, I know that everything that we do and say cannot be said online. We really need to get together in those churches and at our coffee shops. I met with a bunch of amazing Black women here in Louisville, Kentucky, at a Black-owned coffee shop, and we started to strategize. That's the only way that we're going to move this forward. I want to say this before I get off of here, and I want everybody to know. Yes, they are attacking unions, as they always have. They are attacking us. And when I say us, listen to me when I say this. Everything that they have done up until this point, they never changed their mind about us. They were forced into living with us. All of these laws and all of the amendments that were pushed forward, it is because somebody made them do that. I don't ever want you all to get lost on the fact that racism is still here. It never went away. And all of these people are absolutely evil. They are absolutely evil. There's nothing when looking at another human that separates me from you other than the color of our skin. And I say this all the time. What rich white people have done and what they did when we were on their plantations is gave poor white people a horse and a gun and told them that they were better than us. They never got paid. They lived in shacks. The master wouldn't even let them inside the house, but yet and still they were taught that they were better than us. I grew up in Fayette, Mississippi, which is an all-Black town. When somebody asked me when did I have my first Black teacher in Head Start, all I saw was Black people in the bank, at the pharmacy that was teaching, that ran welding shops and grocery stores and all of it. So it can be done. In Mississippi, a poor town, I got to see people living together. And even with our nothingness, we shared in that because that's the only way we are going to progress forward. I always say this all the time. Let those people worry about the things that they need to worry about because we know how we have made struggle look good to them. They think that we enjoy it, but we made it look good. They don't know how to make it like we know how to make it, okay? And I'm not sure why this man and his band of hooligans are following some kind of playbook of a man that eventually punched his own clock. Do you understand? He checked out himself. I don't understand where they think this is going. And I always reference Germany at 14 years versus our 250 years. It's going to take a lot for them to dismantle this country and the democracy that we have fought for because we're not going anywhere. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to exhaust us. They're trying to divide us. And they're trying to make sure that we don't go forward. All we have to do now, you all, is strategize and move forward anyway. We're not going backwards. We've already did the hard work. Our ancestors have already laid the groundwork. And before I close, I want to say this. I'm reminded of this. My grandfather, when I was in Mississippi, I went to speak to my high school and I went to our family's land and I stood there. My grandfather did not get that land and build that house with my uncles until my mom was in 8th grade. She always tell everyone that was her birthday gift. He was sharecropping after being a World War II vet. And the man said, Reverend, you can work on my land as long as you want to. He said, no, I want my own. And that's what we deserve, our own. So I want everybody to keep that in mind. The handouts that they give us is not enough. We need our own, and that's what we're going to do.
Sister, thank you for telling us what's on the board. Now, I would be remiss because everybody is asking about nutmeg. I know we got to move to the next panel, but folks want to know what nutmeg is up
I
to.
put her out of here because I knew she would be in the camera. I put her out. Yeah, she's upstairs running back and forth.
So it's gonna be a whole justice for nutmeg going
I
on.
know. I know it.
We love our justice minded animals here at Win with Black Women.
I know.
Sister
I know.
Rashonda, we hope that you'll come back and
Of
bring the
course.
board back to us. We thank you so much. And if you do not follow this good sister on socials, Sister Rashonda, tell us how we can find you on socials.
You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. It's Shop AIF, SHOP AIF. It stands for All is Fair, right? But AIF is my handle, and you can find me anywhere else. Just Rashonda Elias.
All righty. Thank you all so much. Thank you, sis. I appreciate it. And
Thank
everybody
you.
talking about nutmeg in the chat. Sisters, we're going to keep going now. I know many of you probably recall what took place during the State of the Union. It was quite historic. It was quite visionary, and it was brought to you by a visionary collective group of some of the most amazing communicators, advocates in this country. Well, the State of the People was historic. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for lifting it up. But we cannot stop there. And there is a national tour about to launch. Before we get started, I want to roll this clip to give you a sense of what is to come.
Black don't crack, nah, black don't crack, hold up, black don't crack, black don't crack, from the whips to the chains to the train, but the cane's still the same, why? Black don't crack, I told you, black don't crack, smile, hold up, black don't crack.
Whenever I'm in the midst of being debated, my queen jumped to conclusions. Me, I levitated. Only throw punches with peers and celebrated. The only kings we calling kings is melanated. Drop top, you thinking cars, I'm thinking place. You in the stars, I'm out of space. I teach my people stories of the Elohim. Shake up the dice. Lean on my face so it's seldom seen. Yeah. I mix the lessons in the medicine like moms at the mashed potatoes. Look at me now. I'm walking in light scriptures, and he often in the scriptures. My black skin in line with my accent. They worship my culture, turning the vultures. Then we laugh at the silly dance. Speaking codes of Swahili chant. Black everything, black wedding rings. Black is Medellin, is beauty in a black family dream. Dreams, pictures from God, no visine. Extreme blacker than most, that's my thing. I dream of cocoa cascades of history without the mystery. Black imagery, black don't crack. The art of being we, that's the start of being free. The art of being we, that's the start of being.
Black don't crack, and the art of being free is the art of being we. Welcome back to the Win with Black Women stage, a dynamic panel of sister leaders, Sister Dewana Thompson, Sister Lolo Smith, Sister Latasha Brown, Sister Tamika Mallory, Sister Angela Rye. Let me tell you, if I am going to be in the foxhole, this is where I want to be. Welcome back to the Win with Black Women stage. Thank you so much for your work. I am going to give it over to all of you. And I'm looking at you, Sister Latasha Brown, because Lord knows I feel like you got a song in your sister. But State of the People is coming to a city near you. Over to you, sisters.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. I wanted to start that song in particular because that song really says it all. That's really about our resistance, and it's also about our resilience. We were very clear from the beginning around what we needed to offer and what we wanted to do for ourselves. And so in that same spirit, I know we're thinking around, and thank you all for joining us for the State of the People, but I do want to just give a little context and then turn over to my sisters, that ultimately, part of what oftentimes a lot of the advances that Black people have made, we've taken it and believed that it was because of the benevolence of white people, and not really recognize that we have always organized, y'all. We organized 3 decades before slavery ended. We were organizing. Matter of fact, Harriet Tubman and a group went up to Canada in 1838 and were meeting with the formerly enslaved folks, were actually organizing what would happen here. In that course of 38 years, over 600 colored conventions, they were called colored conventions, actually happened. And so I want to read this quote real quick. This quote is, "The white man's government has failed us. We must trust only in ourselves and only in our own organizations." This is from Frances Ellen Watkins Harper in 1978, y'all. And so I'm saying that there has been a constant theme around how we move forward and what has come out of that. I can talk about organizations that have come out of that. Wilberforce College and University came out of a convention. An NAACP Urban League came out of a convention. If I look at the Underground Railroad, was actually the idea, the concept was organized out of a convention. And so I'm saying this because part of it, we think that the future has a past, that all of the things that we need to do in this moment, there's a blueprint. That when you look at the Black codes, I'll just share this real quick. When you look at the Black codes, those were Black folks, y'all, that there was even a Black cabinet that people don't know that were really instrumental in the architecture of the New Deal in this country. And the last thing that I'll share is that even organizations, for example, an organization that was a Union League, it was a Ku Klux Klan resistance and Black self-defense. In 1870 and 1871, they actually got the Enforcement Act passed. Listen, y'all hear who I said they are. These are the Black folks who were intentionally resistant and call themselves the Black self-defense. So if they can do this in the 1800s, and here we are with this kind of technology, the kind of brain power we have, this is a moment for us. So I'll turn it over to my sister, who we call the Chief of the Blacks, Sister Angela Rye, who is her fault why we are all here today and came out of the vision of her, of us building from that. So I'll turn it over to you, Angela. But this is our moment. The future has a past.
And Angela is the Chief of the Blacks. And you always look good being the Chief of the Blacks too, sis.
Thank you.
Dressed all black.
The face is beat because I was with Morgan DeBond today. If you all have not purchased or pre-ordered her book, please do that. I want to just acknowledge our sister, a wonderful, brilliant attorney who is also on here somewhere. We just can't find her backstage. Judith Brown Dianis from the Advancement Project, who's also laboring with us. I just want you all to know, we announced the tour in the middle of last week, the State of the People Power Tour. We announced it, but we announced just the states. And so tonight, we're going to give you a little bit of a teaser because the cities have not been rolled out, but we do want you all to participate with us, to lock in with us. We have more than 60 organizations on the national level that have signed on to participate in the tour. People are volunteering. We have hundreds of people signed up to volunteer already. Folks are turning in ideas for workshops that they want to present at each of these spaces, all 10 cities. We got folks that want to train folks on how to be their own security, on how to farm, on how to get property. We are literally hunkering down on what we need to do to survive right now. This is not just a political conversation. Of course, we're going to center our politics and what we need to move forward as a people, but we are absolutely focused on survival right now because that is what this moment requires. So I wanted to shout out everyone who has done that. Now, I will say that the first place we are going to go on the tour is Atlanta, Georgia. So we hope that you will come in with us. April 26th is where we begin. Day one will be our day of rest and resilience. We'll focus on making sure that we go and serve the community. We're working alongside the organizations that do this work every single day in community service and mutual aid. Later in that evening, we will have a town hall where there will be elected officials involved, but so will we. We're going to go hear what our people need from us and how we can support the orgs doing this work every single day. The next day is the day of action, and in some cities they will flip, but the day of action will be the second day, and that is where you'll have exhibition space and workshops and then the rally. And we want people to stay rallied up even when we leave. So with that, I'm going to turn it over because we don't want to go long. We said we're going to be a minute each. I think I'm over time. So I'm going to go to Tamika, and then I know we have Dewana and Lolo, and hopefully we'll find Judy.
Good evening, sisters and family, and good evening, Joteka and team. Thank you so much for having the State of the People Power organizing crew come together tonight. And I love, that Angela said power, because I think that's so important in connection to what Latasha has done, which is to center us in history, that we are not having a tour that we think we just popped up with something new that has not been done before. In fact, we are relying on our history, relying on what has already worked for our communities and for our people for a long, 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 long time, and taking a little bit of that with a little bit of our new flavor and some technology and some evolution, and creating a 2.0, a new version of just what has already taken place, which is getting our people organized and getting into communities. You know that my organization, Until Freedom, we love this. We're excited. Everybody on our team is working to help make this happen, because we understand that going to the community and working with the people is where the power truly lies. The reality is that many of our people are already organizing on the ground around the country, and they're just waiting on us to show up so they can give us some tools to continue and to press forward across the nation. So a part of this tour is about identifying who are the organizers, the strategists, the people who are on the ground doing incredible work that we may know about, maybe we don't, but it needs to be uplifted, and we need to be linked in a chain. And that chain is the chain that will help us to protect our people and really create a blockade for all of the mess that is going on outside, and build a wall that is for us, that is by us, and that gives us the opportunity to lean into one another and know that our comfort will really be found within our community and with people who look like us and are ready to fight for what we truly believe in. And so I'm excited about it. I love working with the people. And in fact, when I go to cities and people tell me, don't go over there, that's the worst part of town, that's the place where we shouldn't go, that's exactly where we are running to. We are headed to the places that have been overlooked, where people have been, or it has been decided that certain groups of people within our communities are disposable. We do not believe that, and we believe that the people who are closest to the problem are closest to the solutions. And so let's get ready to rock, y'all. We coming across the country, and there's more to be announced, because Angela Rye does not go to bed. I have never met a person in my life that stays up from the morning for 24 hours a day. It's almost like she has to have AI working for her, because she never ever rests. But I am so proud to have her as the captain and the leader of our efforts, helping to usher us towards not just this tour, but the resistance that all of us need to be involved in. And it's a lot of powerful people involved, so I don't know how she keeps us all in check, but she got us. We doing our job. So God bless you all. Thank you. And I hope to see everybody on the road. Let's get it done.
That's right. Doing our Black jobs.
Sorry, Joe. I just was going to go to Judy. I know they were saying that her signal kept dropping, so it looks like it's stable right now. So I want to go to our counselor really quick. And then Lolo, I don't want to skip over y'all.
Hey, hi, everybody. In the car, on the road, trying to make it happen and trying to respond to Angela's text messages all the time. And I want to thank all these sisters who have 5 million things going on, but who have decided that we have to center our people in this moment. and we're pushing each other. Like Angela would be like, okay, we're doing 10 cities. She's like, no, we're doing 10,000 cities. So I just want to thank everyone for pushing us. But listen, this is what is important, is that we have got to be talking to our people. Our people need to know that we are there with them, and we need to be listening to them. And so part of this tour isn't just about national folks just coming down, plummeting into communities, parachuting in. This is about ground up and how can we support each other. I want to lift up Latasha, who talked about, like, when we talked about relief, she said relief and resilience. This is about our people actually being resilient. And how are we going to help each other and protect each other through this moment? And then how do we get to the solutions? How do we get to the strategies that we need to have in this moment? So I'm looking forward to it. We're going to be on the road. Yes, we got 5 million things to do, but we are coming to a city near you. So pump it up, tell your people, get your people out. Like Tamika said, we're talking about all of our people. We're not just talking about college educated. We need all of our people in this moment because our people are hurting. And we need them to know that we have hope, we have faith, and that we will win in the end.
Is it on me? All right. All right. So listen, I'm so excited. These leaders, our chief leader, Angela, and all of these women that you already see, they have been on the forefront for so long. So this is a sacred place, and a sacred place that you can trust. And why is that important for me to bring up? Because so many of us have done so much work, particularly over the last 5 years. And I know that if you're anything like me, last year literally took something out of me that I have yet to figure out how to replace. How have I come to this moment? It is because the sacred space that has been created by the State of the People tour and the State of the People advancement, what we're trying to do, it feels like home. It feels like the right thing for me to be doing right now. It feels like the best place that I can place my energy, place my work, and place my soul. And so when you are coming into this space, when you come to this tour, we are asking you to join in sacred space, sacred work, so that we can save our sacred selves. My favorite scripture says, the Lord, who is my strength, teaches my hands to war and my fingers to fight. What does that mean? He makes my work for me, and he gives me strategy. Our fingers mean strategy. The strategy of our tour is not just showing up. We're not just giving out food. We are going to talk, and we need you. So what my job is, what Angela has told me I have to do, is to make sure that each one of these cities, that there are leaders from those cities that are helping us to mold out what day 1 and day 2 look like. So we are asking you to join the city leads and the city partners team. If you are in one of the states, you can sign up. There's a form that we will be able to see. It may be in the chat or it's coming to you. We need you to help join a state team that focuses on the cities in that state. In that team, you will be able to help inform, where should we be? What is the work we should be doing? What are the topics we should be talking about? What are the organizations that we can be working with? That way, this is not us just coming in, as Angela said, and many others have said, and Judith said, we're not parachuting in, baby. We are coming with hands. We are coming with feet. We're coming with hearts to help move and create a platform for the work. But we need you to lead. We need you to tell us where we should be. And so if you will please consider joining one of those teams, or if you got family and you've got organizations, you've got businesses all in all of those states, join up for one of the states or all of the state teams, and we will be activating together on the ground. And we need you to sign up. There is a call tomorrow night for city leads and for state leads who are city and state partners who are interested in being a part. There's also a national partnership call. So if your organization has tentacles all over this country, you're in more than 2 states, and you want to join and sign on this movement as a national team, there is a call tomorrow for that, and we would like you to sign up. You heard Angela say we have 60 plus organizations who signed up to take this mantle on. We want to get to, Angela told us she wanted to get to 1,000 organizations in 2 days, and I'm not here to say that she can't do it. We're gonna do that. And she said she want to have 1 million people at each stop. Baby, we gonna do that. I don't know how it's gonna get done, but the Lord teaches my hands to war and my fingers to fight. So y'all join in with me. If you on this call, 4,000 or 5,000, Joe Taker, we about to be about that business. And I know that I can count on you all. Please sign up and you'll be hearing from us every single day. It's over to the brilliant Lolo.
Wait, before you go to Lolo. So first, I just want to say the doors of the church are now open, and her name is Dewana Thompson, and she approves this message. Dewana, I love you. You almost made me cry twice because saving our sacred selves is a whole sermon. Joe, that was one that has to be promoted and spoken over and over again. It was
Absolutely.
I gotta tell you, Joe, first of all, thank you for cultivating, even from a spiritual standpoint, this space. But people always say, I'm the chief of staff. That's Tiffany, by the way, the chief of staff of the Blacks. I want you guys to know that there's someone who is right beside me, right in front of me, right behind me at all times. And even though she's not my chief of staff, it damn sure feels like it. This is a young woman who came into my professional development program like with fire. And I'm gonna try really hard not to cry because I love her. I'm crying. And they call me Angela Cry on Twitter, so it makes it worse, but I'm gonna just try to get it together. But I love Lolo because of how much she loves us. She loves our people. And I want you guys to know she works tirelessly. You think I don't sleep. I'm literally on her behind because I want her to rest and not get sick. Mm-hmm. But she loves Black people and she wants us to be empowered, to see and experience power together. And Lola, I wanted to do this way because so often our young people are working really hard and they get the least amount of respect, attention, and really the respect they deserve. You guys, we fight all the time, but it's because she wants me to be better. She wants us to be better. And she can see blind spots that many of us don't see. She is an administrator for the gods. She is somebody's chief administrative officer sitting right here, like not future, like she can do that right now. She is amazing. And I know that I probably took a full minute just for the intro, but she crying too. But I wanted to do that because it's the right thing to do. And I'm telling you all, I respect her. I honor her. I hold her up high. And I'm thankful that she is stubborn enough to tell me what I don't want to hear. We'll fight for 2 hours, but we get to the right place. Lolo, I love you, and I thank God for you loving Black people. So you have the floor, ma'am.
Yes. I just want to pop in and say, Lolo, you the bomb, girl. The
Baby,
bomb. I'm telling you,
the
bomb. The whole Black America needs to know what Angela just said about you because you are a badass woman, for real.
Can she talk? Let's see, can she talk?
I'm like, y'all, I forgot what I was supposed to do, but no.
You can't forget though. You got to remember. Look at your notes. You gave us talking points. Look at them talking points.
Right. I done gave them talking points. Everybody went off their talking points.
So you got to be.
I just want to say thank you all so much. This is so beautiful. Like she said, I am a crazy person when it comes to our people. I talk about our people. I advocate for our people. And I've dreamt of this. I've dreamt of being able to do something of this magnitude. So to be in this position with these amazing women, to organize, and to be in a place where there isn't ego, to be in a place where everyone cares about the liberation and saving our people. Like, it is so beautiful. It is so unheard of that I cannot wait until we come to each one of y'all cities and you can see the love and the passion that has been built into this thing. And so, okay, I'm gonna stay on point. I got a minute to let y'all know. But really quick, me and Angela was talking about this, and she was like, you gotta go watch the National Black Political Convention. And I watched it. I watched what happened back in Gary, Indiana in 1972.
It's called Nation Time. It's a documentary called
Nation Time. Yes. And there is this quote in there, and it says, we must accept ourselves as our own liberators, as our own legislators, as our own authorities, as our own resources. We must define our own Black agenda clearly and independently, trusting only those who demonstrate that their allegiance is to Black people. Right. And I know we've heard a lot about how this is a time for rest. The 92%. I was there on Howard's campus that night in November, and that broke my heart. That broke my heart. But this is not our time to rest. This is our time to heal, but this is not our time to rest. We got work to do. And because we have to liberate ourselves. So anyway, I say that to say, now I'm gonna get back to business. Thank you all. In order to do this work, it's gonna take community for us to come together. We got a big, big vision. You know, there's a lot of healing that has to take place in the Black community with our organizations, with our people. There's a lot of work that must be done. There's an agenda that must be created. And we're like, we want everybody. We don't want to, the women on here, we don't want to just do it. We want everybody to come together and do it. And so we need you all. So like Dawana said, we are looking for city partners. You could go to State of the People, so ppl.com and /city interest. If you're interested in being a city partner. If you're interested in being a national partner, you could go to stateofthepeople.com /partner interest. So, and we're doing 3 calls. So 2 calls tomorrow for national partners, 1 call tomorrow for city partners, and then 1 call on Tuesday for national partners. And then for all of y'all who are like, you know what? I just love what y'all doing. I just want to spread the word. I just want to be in the circle. We got something for y'all too. So we would love for you all to join our chat. So you can join our chat by going to stateofthepeople.com /first access. So it's stateofthepeople.com first access. And you'll be able to join our chat. You'll get exclusive information about everything that we're doing, how we're organizing. You can even give us feedback. So, so make sure you join our chat. But I just want to say it's been such a pleasure. I'm like, y'all don't even understand how my heart is so happy and filled. Like, I don't be sleeping. I don't sleep as much as Angela don't sleep. She'll text me. I'm like, why you up? She'll be like, why you up? But I'm like, the goal of what we're doing, it's like, it's carrying me through. It must be my ancestors or something, but we gonna get this done. This is bigger than us. So thank you all. Thank you for this space. And I just love y'all. So
Well, we
I'm
love
gonna
you,
hand it back
Lolo.
over.
Thank you, Lolo, because let me tell you, I got an email from Lolo and I was like, now that is an email.
That's an email.
Sisters, there are 4,000 of us on this call right now. I just did a little math. 4,000 times 10, I believe, is 40,000. So I need for you all right now, I need for you all to text 10 people the link to the State of the People and tell someone about the State of the People tour. Now, you all are asking, when with Black women, let me tell you, we signed up on day 1. I believe we were the first. When with Black women, we were the first organization. Network. We are a network, y'all. We are a network. We were the first to sign up for State of the People. And we are going to get an email that's coming out to our entire email list, to all 200,000 of us in this network, that will give you information on how you can sign up to show up, how you can volunteer, how you can attend, and how you can bring your expertise, because we know you are Black women leading in cities across this country. You are, whether you are elected or whether you're leading a community organization, whether you have a business, whether you have an expertise, you're a doula, all of those things are so important and we need you. So right now it's 4,000 of us. So I want you to make sure you put it on your socials. I want you to follow State of the People. But more importantly, I need for you to send this to 10 people right now. Let's try to get it to 40,000 people. It's a challenge. Let's get the EEO tracker and let's get the information about State of the People. Let's move it to 40,000 people. That's our power. That's what we could do right now. If all of us right now are very, very focused and disciplined and say, you know what? I'm going to actually do 20 because I'm going to compensate for somebody who might not only be able to do 5. I promise you we can get to 40,000 people tonight. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Angela, to wrap up if there's anything else that you want to share before you all leave us. I know this is just, I'm telling you, this right here is a squad right here.
It is
Angela,
a squad.
I have one request.
I was about to say, I
just got one quick request, and that is, it costs money to do these things. And so I'm going to say it, sisters may not say it. Angela, this team who've been doing this nonstop around the clock, have been doing this for completely volunteer. There's been no exchange. Matter of fact, even the state of media, the state of the people literally invested their own time and their energy. There was no exchange of money. Now, that's noble, but y'all know it takes money to do stuff. And so I'm saying that because I think it's really important that as we're doing an outreach, that people who you can volunteer, not volunteer, I want to just lift it up, that we really, really need to raise money to cover this budget. So if your organization, your business, I will have information around that, but we really do need to pay for our own politics.
Yeah. Lolo, can you please drop the link in the chat?
Please drop the link, Lolo, because I cannot express what Latasha said. We have to invest in ourselves, y'all. We have to fund our movements. We have to fund our own freedom. We cannot rely on people who have no interest in our freedom to give us a donation for what they do not care about, which is our liberation and freedom. We have to invest in our own freedom. Please drop the link and we will make sure that we are sharing that. If you could donate, whether it's 50 cents, $1, or if you could give $10,000, please make a donation to this effort. Sisters, thank you so much. Angela, I see you are poised to say something. So
I'm gonna be just really quick.
Sis.
Joe gave us very specific instructions about sending things for the email. We will do that because we're just checking off one more box around the fiscal sponsorship. So it's not that we're trying to be cagey about it. We really just want to make sure that that's right, because what y'all not about to do is have us going to jail when we all trying to get free. So we're going to make sure that that is airtight this week. Within the next 24 hours, we'll have that set up, Joe, and we'll get that out. I just want to say thank you for always being so generous with this platform. Thanks to all of you for being engaged, for all the ways that you want to lean in. We just really thank God for y'all. So thank you. God bless you. Good night.
We love you. Sisters, we're almost at the end of this agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. It's so important for us to have a sisterhood spotlight. And we are so excited to spotlight our sister organization, Emerge America. And we are excited to bring to the stage Sister Melissa Watson Ward. Welcome to the Win with Black Women stage. Over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm so happy to be here with y'all tonight to talk about Emerge. So y'all heard from our wonderful president, Ashanti Golar, back in December. Also, some of you may have been on the Step Forward training that we did back in February. And we're just coming tonight to give you some updates of what's going on with the Emerge Network. And so first, a little bit of deep dive in there into the Emerge Network. We are over 6,000 women strong, and that's women representing all states and areas across the United States, with over 1,200 women in office. And speaking of our alum, we just heard from one of our alum, the good sister Rashonda, is an Emerge alum of Emerge, one of our 6,000 nationwide, and the 1,200 that are currently in office represent everything from school board up to Congress. We have a caucus of Emerge alum serving us in Congress, and they include Black women alum. And in 2024, we had 600 plus alum on the ballot, representing over 30 states across the nation. And of those 600 plus on the ballot last year, y'all, we had a 70% success rate. So that's 70% of our women on the ballot last year won, with Black women being highly represented in that number. 68% were of the new American majority of Black, Brown, Indigenous, young, unmarried women. So what we know is that if we put Black women on the ballot, we can help get Black women elected. We just need to run for office. And so in 2024, that 70% success rate netted us 400 plus women who were elected into office for 2024. Now, we have some additional programming coming up this year, some actual new programming. We know, with everything that's going on in the federal government, that a lot of our federal employees are being impacted across the United States. And so we want to make sure that we're supporting our federal workers who are already civil servants. So we are having a program called Emerge Rising. It's a 3-part session for former federal workers. We believe that federal workers should be involved in politics and they should be involved in our government at all levels because they know what works and they know what doesn't work because of the time they've served in government. So Emerge Rising will be a program again that we have for former federal workers. However, if that is not for you, please share it with your friends who may be former federal workers. We want to make sure that we're getting these individuals involved more in the civic process. And again, they're perfect individuals to be involved because they're already civil servants. They already have a passion for serving this nation. If you are not a former federal worker or don't know anyone, it's okay. We have trainings coming up that may be geared for you. So the training that we did back in February with Win with Black Women was our Step Forward training. And that's stepping forward into running for office. We are also having that training across several quarters this year. So we'll have it in April, we'll have a July training, September, October, November. So please, you'll see a QR code at the end, sign up to attend a training. We also have some amazing continuing education sessions. So if you are a current elected or seeking to be elected, please come to one of our continuing education sessions. We will also have some virtual candidate training programs coming up, including a training for current candidates in June. So if you're running now or in 26, we have a June boot camp for you. And we also have some state trainings. And then we are launching our Black Women Elected program called Seated Together. This is a special program specifically for Black women electeds, and that will be launching in April. So our upcoming recruitment for 2025 includes the National Boot Camp I mentioned in June. It also includes my home state of South Carolina, where I actually started my Emerge journey as the Executive Director of Emerge South Carolina in 2027, and have been able to support the mission of this organization and move up through leadership. So these are our application deadlines, April 14th for South Carolina and April 16th for our National Boot Camp if you are running for office this year or in the next 18 months. And then lastly, we have our Women Talk Politics Day. This is May 2nd. This day was picked because this is when the Dobbs decision was leaked. And we wanted to make sure that we were engaging women around politics and talking about politics. You know, my saying is if you don't talk about or do politics, politics will do you. So we need to make sure that we are talking about it. And Women Talk Politics is a day for us to engage around that conversation. Last year, the conversation was focused on women voting and why we were voting. This year, it's focused on democracy and making sure that we are protecting our rights that are being attacked every day with this administration. And then lastly, the QR code that I mentioned, please scan this QR code, follow us on social, sign up for our newsletters so that you can get involved in the workshops. Even if you're not sure if running for office is right for you yet, we will have a training to help you work through that and talk about running for office or talk about the ways that you can be involved in the civic process beyond just running for office. So please sign up for an Emerge training, sign up to follow our newsletters so that you can receive all of the good information that we'll have coming out over the next couple of months.
Well, that was amazing, my fellow South Carolina sister. And I love to see all those University of South Carolina Gamecock degrees behind you. So always amazing to have Emerge America and so many Emerge America alumni and those who've gone through that amazing program, and a speedy recovery for our sister Ashanti. Thank you so much. Sisters, we're going to continue on this agenda tonight. Please, I know you have probably already seen this book, but if you do not have this book, you have to get this amazing book in this week's edition of Sis. Support this book. Please let us welcome to the Win with Black Women stage our good sister Alencia Johnson, author of the U.S. Today bestseller, Flip the Tables. I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to go off camera so you can first tell us about this book. Tell us why it is important and how we can support this dynamic book.
Thank you, my sister and soror Joteka and everyone at Win with Black Women and all of you. I see some people in the chat who have already purchased the book. Thank you so much. So Flip the Tables, the Everyday Disruptor's Guide to Finding Courage and Making Change is my vulnerable love offering to the world. And it is truly divine that it came out this month, a few weeks ago, at such a time as this. So the title, Flip the Tables, is from my favorite story of Jesus in the Bible when he went in the temples and he flipped over those tables. And I asked myself, this was early 2020, what are the proverbial tables that we need to flip over in our communities? Remember, we were in the pandemic, a presidential election that we didn't think could get crazier than then, but it did in 2024. The murder of George Floyd and the subsequent racial justice uprising. What are the proverbial tables in our community that we have to flip? And then I thought about it even more deeply. What are the tables in our own lives that we have to flip over to be that person in our deep purpose that is connected to the way that we are able to disrupt our communities? So this book is part self-help because sometimes we actually have to get out of our own way. Change begins with ourselves. And then it teaches us how to build that beloved community with the disruption of community. It goes through three parts: disruption of self, disruption of vision, and disruption of community. And to be honest, this is the book that I needed when I needed to find the courage to live my authentic self. It's got chapters like the red flag is you, because sometimes we get in our own way. But there's also this chapter called Goodbye to the Boss Woman, which is my permission structure to all of us to reimagine what it looks like to be successful, right? To give us the permission to have joy and rest just as much as we want to continue to do the work in our communities and how those things can coexist together. It also takes us through disruption and teaches us that, quite frankly, I know so many people are looking for a leader to come and save us, right? Someone to lead the way. And you've heard from so many folks that, you know, I turn to on this call, like Angela, Tamika, and the list goes on and on. But yet the reality is we are the ones that can save ourselves. And it teaches us those everyday acts of disruption that don't require you to quit your job, but they actually require you to get a little courage and be uncomfortable and to stand in the gap. So chapters like Spend Your Privilege, The Urgency of Now, and actually one of my favorites, so you got to finish the book, it's Be the Salt and Be Light. And so I'm still in the middle of a book tour this week. I have the last couple of top stops at the initial part of the book tour. I'm taking a little vacation. We will be in Atlanta on Wednesday the 2nd, as well as Mobile, Alabama on April 7th. And then I'm taking a little bit of a break, but I actually want to come to cities near you all. People keep asking, when are you going to get back on the road? And so we can put up the slide. I can share information for you all to get involved in this movement. I think it's coming up. But you can email me until then. You can email me at book@alenciajohnson.com or go to flipthetablesbook.com. And then I also have a very direct ask. A lot of college students really want this book. Here it comes. There's college students who really want this book, particularly Howard and Spelman students. I am visiting Spelman on Wednesday, and we need about 60 books, and they're $25 each. And I know we have a community that is ready to share with our Spelman sisters, as well as Howard. There were more students than we anticipated showing up for an event we did. And so we would like to make sure all those students have books. And so if you are able and you are interested in joining this work, this very important mission of getting this book out into the world, please, please, please reach out to me. I am excited to bring it to especially cities that, quite frankly, don't often host events like this. That's why it was important for me to get to Detroit and Mobile, Alabama, and we're looking at Cleveland and Nashville and Memphis. So I want to be all over because we are all in the mode of disruption and it starts with us. And, you know, I want to leave this last quote as this is what got me out of bed 2 days after the election. And I'm paraphrasing this. I put in the preface, it's from Alice Walker. And she said, "You have to maintain a healthy soul in the face of constant oppression." And this book teaches us to do all of those things. Yes, we are facing the constant oppression, and yet at the same time, we got to figure out how to heal our souls because honestly, sisters, that is how we are going to build that beloved community, how we are going to treat each other better, how we are going to have grace with one another. And so I challenge you to read this book, support this book, write a review, and share it with your friends. Yes, I wrote it from the vein of a Black woman, obviously, but it is for anyone who wants to make change in the world. And so thank you so much for the time. Thank you for the support. And I look forward to seeing you all in a city near you.
So I did want to say, for those of you who, if you don't already, you can hear Alencia's powerful voice often on a television near you or across many platforms. But you could also hear Flip the Tables. So there's an audio book. You, if you're on Audible, you got some Audible credits. Make sure that you tune in. Alencia, thank you for just pouring into this book. I believe that this book in this moment right now is absolutely needed because folks are really trying to find a guide. How do they think about what's happening? What is a guide? How can they really make real impact? How can they respond in this moment? And your book does a beautiful job of not only sharing your powerful story from your perspective and vantage point and your experience, but also giving tangible tools. And in this moment, tangible tools are so incredibly important. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for gracing us with your presence. And sisters, please support this book. They're asking in the chat, how can I buy this book for a student? I think you might get those 60 books plus for Howard and Spelman. I know there's a lot of HU, and there are a lot of Spelman sisters on here, including the former president of Spelman College, Dr. Janetta Besh Cole, is on this call tonight. So I think that you're going to hear a lot of sisters.
Thank you.
Again, we've put it up for all of you. Please take a photo of this so that you can have it, you can keep it, you can support this book. Flip the Tables, an everyday disruptor's guide to finding courage and making change by best-selling author Alencia Johnson. Thank you so much, Sister
Thank
Alencia,
you.
for joining us tonight. Sisters, we have reached that part of the agenda that is oh so important. It is announcements and updates on how you can support Black women and Black women-led organizations. And I am so proud to turn it over to our good sister, Chantel Mullen.
Good evening, Joteka. I just have a few announcements that I want to share with everyone this evening, and I hope you are doing well. So, just a reminder, we are doing candid candidate conversations. If you are a Black woman running for office, we see you and we want to hear you. So sign up for one of our candid conversation dates. You can do that by scanning the QR code. We are having a wonderful conversation tomorrow with a sister who is running for judge. We will have it live streamed on the Win with Black Women and the Sisters Lead Sisters Vote Facebook page, YouTube, and Instagram. So join us on any of those channels and watch it. But if you are a sister running for office, claim your spot. State of the People, just a reminder, wanted to show you the dates and the tours in all of the cities, along with how you can follow them on social media. But you know what? You don't have to take a picture. Join us over in the Win with Black Women Facebook page. I am going to share all of the announcements from tonight in our Facebook group. We've got 69,000 folks over there. Share, so share your announcements there and follow us to see the announcements from this evening. Also, just again, the Emerge Rising 3-part series, April 1st, April 8th, April 15th. There are all of the links. We're going to put those in our Facebook page as well. You know what? There's still ways that you can support the families in California who have been impacted by the fire. There is a benefit concert to rebuild, restore, and revive and hold Dina. This is happening on April the 26th. And you know what? There's actually a Win with Black Women code. So when you go in there to get your ticket, drop that Win with Black Women code in there for you. There's a virtual discussion happening about the state of Detroit. It is the Let's Talk Roundtable, and that will be happening on April the 2nd. There's also a talk that's, the clubhouse is still popping. And so the DC Clubhouse is having, and that's the dismantlecollective.org. They are having a discussion over on there about, are you a spiritual trust fund baby? That sounds kind of interesting. I may have to jump back on Clubhouse and see what's happening. And they just wanted you to know this event is free 99. So join them on April 16th to hear about that conversation. Just a reminder, it's almost time for the NCNW Purple Power Policy Summit. That is happening April the 2nd through the 4th. So if you're interested in that, make sure you register. We're still putting together our Black business forums. So if you've got a Black business you want to drop, there is the link. Just a reminder about the All States meeting. If you are part of the Win with Black Women group for your state, you want to sign up, you want to start one, you want to join one, come on over to the meeting happening tomorrow. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be two meetings. The first part is for Eastern and Central time zone states. That's going to start at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then for Mountain and Pacific time zone states, plus Hawaii and Alaska, that's going to start at 8:30 p.m. Not Central Time, Lord, Eastern Time. Are you a Black woman who is running for office? Win with Black Women partnered with Sisters Lead Sisters Vote, and Sisters Lead Sisters Vote put together a phenomenal yearbook outlining all of the and highlighting all of the Black women candidates who ran in 2025. They also did some amazing social media graphics. So if you are a Black woman running, or if you know a Black woman running, send them this link so they can sign up and be included in all the Black women running for office things happening over at Sisters Lead Sisters Vote. Just a reminder, Jill Love does a really great, fabulous job of sending out our weekly opportunities. If you have any that you'd like to be included in that email, send them to her at info@winwithblackwomen.org. Make sure you get them to her by Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, if you have a Sunday announcement that you want to be included in the Sunday call, get it to us by Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can send it to info@winwithblackwomen.org. The subject line announcements. Now, just remember, if you have an announcement that's happening before our Sunday call, and it will happen before, it's time sensitive, think about dropping that over in our Win with Black Women Facebook group. There's 69,000 folks over there, y'all, and we will be happy to help you amplify your event if you want to drop it in there. Lastly, we still have our t-shirts. We're still revamping our big Win with Black Women t-shirt state store, but we still have our state t-shirts and our We Need Joy shirts. And so you can check that out over at our site for those state t-shirts. And then lastly, if you want to donate to help out to pay for these Zoom calls, I'm just saying, y'all. Win with Black Women C4 donation link. Just scan the QR code and you can donate right there. Thank you, Joe Taker. That is all of the announcements I have tonight. So peace out.
Well, sisters, it has been a beautiful, informative, inspirational, and joyful night with our sisters. Thank you to the 4,000 Black women from across the country that have joined this call tonight. And just to talk about the power of these calls, I believe Sister Alencia Johnson is still on this call, but I received a text message about 5 minutes ago from a sister asking to be connected to you. I'll make sure you're connected. She just committed to paying for the 60 books that you requested. That is the power of this network. That is the power of Black women looking out and supporting each other That is our power. So, Alencia, I will be getting you that information. But those 60 books you requested, done. That is the power. And with that, using the word power, a very powerful, inspirational leader to this entire movement, our nation has come to close us in the spirit. The incredible, the amazing Dr. Janetta Beshko.
My sisters, you know, it must be something that I could not avoid for me not to be on from the beginning of In with Black Women. But let me tell you that when I did come in, did I just get lost? Am I still there? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. You are right
All
here on the
right.
screen.
Okay. When I did come in, I thought, now wait a minute. My soror Q asked me to do End in the Spirit, but it's already happening right now. So I must have missed my cue. What I'm saying to you is I came in as those powerful Black women were describing the state of the power of, yes, it is state of the power, state of the people tour. And I thought that was ending in the spirit. I do have some comments I want to make. And these comments are about what's happening at the Smithsonian. As you all know, I had the unusual privilege of serving as a director of one of the Smithsonian's museums. And so it didn't surprise me when that atrocious, horrific executive order came out about the Smithsonian. But while it didn't surprise me, my outrage is almost indescribable. The largest museum complex in the world, headed now by an African American extraordinary historian, is under attack. Well, let me say this. If ever there was a time for pushback and pushback against the federal government, it is now. And the reason I say that, my sisters, is that the Smithsonian is largely supported by the federal government. And so we have no choice. We have no choice but to stand up and speak out about this atrocity. Now, what would I be asked to do as the director of the National Museum of African Art, which I was a number of years ago, if I was to follow the directives of the federal government? I guess rather than talking about through exhibitions, Africa, the cradle of all of humanity, Africa, a place of unusual artistic accomplishment. Africa, the victim of the most obscene expressions of colonialism and imperialism. I guess rather than that, with this executive order, were I at the National Museum of African Art today, I guess my duty would be to lift up exhibitions about the glory of imperialism. How wonderful it was when the white people came and took over Africa. Do you see the obscenity in what is going on? And so, my sisters, I ask of you, use your power. It does matter in this situation that you directly address your Congress people to say, hands off of the Smithsonian. My dearest Sora, sister, daughter, Joteka, thank you for letting me have that intervention about the Smithsonian. And now, sisters, to end in the spirit. I want to do so by raising 3 points. The first is that what is going on today is because we have come this far. There's no other explanation. Throughout our long history, her story and their story, whenever we have indeed as a people come to a given point of progress, the pushback, the outrageous reactions to our progress, that is what has happened. And if you want a perfect case of what I am speaking of, it is no accident, in my view, that what is happening now is tied intricately to the rise of the possibility of a Black woman as the President of the United States of America. The second point I would make is no matter how horrific this period is in our country and our world, because the rise of fascism, the rise of authoritarianism is not simply in our country, it is in our world. No matter how horrific this is in the lives of Black people, we have known worse. It is we who were the victims of enslavement. The most vicious, the most inhumane act that any human being had been subjected to. And so we moved forward. We came out of it. And that is who we are. Thirdly, my sisters, in every struggle that we as a people have had to endure. Black women have not just been participants, we have been leaders. And it is because of that that I know we will do no less now. Calling on our faith, regardless of which religion that faith is expressed in. And yes, I respect those who say that they are not religious, but are deeply spiritual. No matter what expression your faith takes, I believe that you must believe that we Black women have a special role to play at this point in the history of our country and the history of our world. And because through all of those struggles, God never left us. God was always on our side. There is no reason to believe God would ever fail us, including now. And so let me end in the spirit in this way. What I want to do is to read to each of you and to myself this final passage in a poem by Mari Evans. I am a Black woman, tall as a cypress, strong beyond all definition, still defying place and time and circumstance, assailed, impervious, indestructible. Look on me and be renewed. My sisters, let us look on each other and be renewed. Thank you, Joteka.
Let us be renewed. Dr. Cole, thank you for that. Sisters, what a powerful night. And I just keep getting more and more text messages. I got another text message from another sister committing 10 books to Sister Lyncia Johnson. And I'm getting text messages from sisters saying that they are planning to donate to the State of the People Power Tour, that they are ready to sign up, that they have made sure to send messages to 10 of their friends, to their chats, their signals, their group me's, their DMs, to let at least 10 people know about the EEO tracker as well as the State of the People Power Tour. So sisters, that is what this is all about. Thank you so much. And what a powerful spiritual closing, a powerful word from Dr. Janetta Besh Cole. Let us remember that, as Sister Latasha Brown always reminds us, that we can hold both our fight and our joy at the same time. Now, we have closed in the